Introducing the epic new Swift. Time to go swifting.
वॉचो ऐप पे देखो एक OTT के दाम पे सारे OTT शान से.
India are back in action as the two unbeaten teams from Group A meet in what will be the last game in a much talked about venue, the Nassau County International Cricket Stadium in New York. It's India versus the co-hosts United States. We build up to match number 25 on Maruti Suzuki Arena presents ESPN Cricket for Timeout, powered by Dish TV Watcher. We have seen in New York, it's a bowler's game. Might as well add an extra fast bowler as Anil Kumble is back and Varun for the first time in the tournament with us. I think it's fair to say now, times have changed since we last spoke. Varun, you were with us towards the end of the IPL where 260s and 280s were happening. And now this is a venue that both of you wouldn't mind having a bowl on, even at this bright age.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's the exact opposite of what we saw at the IPL. It's great to see bowlers come into conversations and the talk to be more about bowlers in this World Cup, which is a complete flip side from what we are generally used to seeing in T20 cricket.
Yeah, I think you need a bit of balance. What we saw in the IPL was totally towards the batters, and what we see here is totally towards the bowlers, which I don't mind. But I think from a T20 game perspective in a World Cup, you would expect a bit of balance to come through, because you want the batters to come in and feel settled. No batters felt settled in this ground throughout the 20 overs.
What we're seeing is you don't even need 120 to win games. You also don't even need to bowl out the opposition in what's a strike change from what we thought was conventional wisdom. Low score, you must bowl out the opposition. Here you're seeing bowlers make run making so hard, and I just can't help but think whether there will be an effect once India go to the Caribbean, where they will have much more batting friendly surfaces to adapt.
Yeah, I think so. I think certainly we've seen that 6 runs per over is a good score throughout this competition, and as soon as the run rate goes more than 8 towards the last 4 or 5 overs, that's when it becomes that much more difficult for teams. And the only team that have sort of gone through with that has been South Africa, because David Miller ensured that he didn't get out. So at that stage, if a set batter gets out, then it becomes that much more harder for a new batter to come in and score 8 runs on this surface.
Yeah, well, we have seen in South Africa, as Anil Kumble points out, they gave us a bit of a surprise by choosing to bat first, ended up winning the game against Bangladesh. Rohit Sharma has won another toss though, and he's going to have a bowl against the United States, that are led by Aaron Jones today in the absence of their captain Monang Patel, who's out, we believe, with a shoulder injury. But India will bowl first in what's an unchanged team for 3 games running now, so we will see both left-arm spinning all-rounders play, and we'll also see all 3 frontline seamers play. I was wondering if they would be tempted to change things up as we get closer and closer to the Caribbean, where maybe we'll see the wrist spinners come in, but India have gone with the same team. Thoughts?
I think they're going for stability. They don't want to change too many things when they're winning. Definitely, it would have been great to see Jaiswal come in, but I don't think they want to change both the big guns up top and have the entire batting order shift down. But they're going with the same team, which is good as well, because that just gives you stability, and everybody feels that they have to play their roles and fulfill them.
We have spoken that we might see a different team come the Super 8s. Would India have not been tempted to perhaps field them, blood them into the tournament in this particular game?
Not in this.
No?
I would still want to secure the Super 8s before you even think of those.
Yeah.
Because I think what is critical in a situation like this, we have seen that many times in cricket, that if you take things lightly, then it can certainly come back to bite you. So, yes, give the tried and tested another opportunity, because this, at least the management believe that they are the best side in terms of options that the captain has. You have 6 bowlers, you can bat till number 8, and that's something that you want in a competition like this. So I feel Indian team don't want to change it. Maybe after today they win this game, when they go to Florida, perhaps there you may see a couple of changes, at least Bumrah may be getting a rest, and then bringing in someone like a Kuldeep, because I'm sure in the Caribbean you will require someone of the ability of Kuldeep in the side.
All right, well, we are looking at India's overwhelming favourites, with no disrespect at all to the United States, who have shown already that they're more than capable of upsetting a full member or a higher ranked team on their day, as they did for Pakistan. Pakistan will be watching this group or this game with keen interest. They would want for India to do them a bit of a favour now, and not just win today, but win handsomely, to bring the USA's net run rate down, so that Pakistan in their last game against Ireland have a genuine chance. The United States very much have things in their hands. They've picked up the key win And we also have to keep an eye out on how the weather plays in Florida, which has already witnessed this morning a washout between Nepal and Sri Lanka. But that's how things stand. India would be certain strong favourites going in. We will discuss some key players to watch out for a little while from now. But as we do have Anil, Kumble and Varun together, we also look at perhaps going forward, the future of this Indian team. This is a swan song for Rahul Dravid, who has confirmed that he will not reapply for the position of head coach. And it's a nice chat to have on what kind of coach India should be looking for, given the shoes that they need to fill with Rahul Dravid. We've had very different coaches in Ravi Shastri and Rahul Dravid. You, of course, held that position yourself. At this point of time, the Gautam Gambhir's name is being thrown around. What kind of coach should India look for?
I think you need somebody with with a strong demeanor, and you want the continuity to go. Happen right throughout. I mean, Rahul has done a fantastic job. Hopefully for him and for India's sake, he has a swan song here with the World Cup, and you want that continuity. I think what you also will have to keep in mind is some of the senior players are coming towards the back end of their career. So someone who can go through the transition period and ensure that India doesn't miss out on the quality and the ability that India has in the batting department, in the bowling department. You'll have to sort of pick and choose and transition through so that you don't miss out on the quality of some of the great players that this team has.
Names that have been Indian coaches in the last three, counting yourself, Anil, have been people of high profile, and you talk about strong figures. Are there enough viable candidates? Is that a must almost for the Indian cricket team with the stakes involved these days?
Yeah, I think so. I think you need somebody of a strong stature, and also I believe that you need to also develop Indian coaches. We have an opportunity at the IPL where players are being developed. I mean, we have seen the likes of some of these players who've come through the ranks. Of course, the domestic runs or wickets have been really good for some of these players, but in the IPL, they've certainly taken that step ahead, and that's something that you want coaches from India to also get an opportunity in the IPL where they are under pressure, and you would want that to sort of be a feeder into the Indian team, because if you're only looking at big names, then it's not easy to find those names, and ideally you would like to go with coaches who have the experience, who've been there, done that, and for that to happen, you need to give them an opportunity in this in the IPL.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but as a current player, you don't have the exposure of so many Indian names in IPL dugouts as you do have foreign coaches. You of course have worked closely even with the likes of Dennis Lilly, but even with IPL coaches, there seems to be a lot more foreign bowling coaches, batting coaches, even head coaches. Is there space for an Indian for a feeder system almost of Indian coaches to apply for the big job? You can't think of too many candidates right now. Gambhir's name is right up there. There aren't a lot of other Indian names that seem like they'll fit the job.
Look, one of the biggest caveats in the Indian system is that if you have a contract with the BCCI, you can't coach anywhere
outside
except the BCCI teams. So that eats up a lot of the best coaches in India. So they can't obviously offer their services for any IPL team. So that's left with a few coaches who are not in the system. So if that could change, then we could see more Indian coaches in the IPL, more bowling coaches in the IPL, which doesn't happen at the moment. But also coming back to the Indian team question, it's important that whoever the coach is up with modern times, because the game's changing at a very rapid pace, and somebody who's played the game recently, for example, a Gambhir who's been involved in the game recently, who's not retired very long ago, would be a great choice, or somebody of the likes of him who has the stature and who has the recency as well.
What do you think of Gautam Gambhir, who seems to be the front runner with all reports considered, but he's never managed at the domestic level or even head coached for that matter? He's been mentor at a franchise, and this would be a different challenge?
Yeah, it is. You'll have to give him time. He certainly is capable. I mean, we have seen Gautam handle teams. He's been a captain for India, for his franchise, for Delhi. So he has all the credentials to be that. But, Indian team coaching is slightly different. So you'll have to give him time. You'll have to give him time to settle in. And like I mentioned, he will certainly, in case he does take up the job or does get to him, he'll have the task of sort of looking at not just the current lot, but also the future of Indian cricket.
Is there a challenge in a player who's played with a number of the players still playing, becoming head coach, a number of his peers, like a Virat Kohli or Rohit Sharma? You mentioned transition. Does that make it trickier, or does that make him a better candidate?
No, I think, today you sort of have been a part of the system in some form or the other, whether you're a coach, whether you're a player, you've played with them or been associated with the team in some form or the other. So I don't think it certainly matters that much. What you need to certainly look at is the kind of candidature that you're going to pick, and not necessarily go with whether this particular player or this particular coach has had a background of playing with the players, and then that sort of coming in the way or not coming in the way. So I think it's important that you need to choose the right candidate in terms of what they can bring to the Indian team, and someone who has the kind of stature and the credibility to handle certain situations in the game, and someone who takes those calls and not afraid to take those calls.
We know that the coach has. Head coach of the Indian team doesn't necessarily have powers of selecting, but we know there's a strong influence. There will be a change of captaincy as well. One would think sooner rather than later. We may also see different captains for different formats. Is Gautam Gambhir the right man for these kind of big decisions to be taken, even though we know that decision making lies perhaps in the selectorship and secretary's office perhaps?
No, I definitely, we all think and we know that the coach will always have a very strong say in selection. And again, it's still yet to see. We are still yet to see that if it's going to be a coach for all formats, or it's going to be a coach for different formats. Even now, there's like an unofficial setup where some coaches get a few look-ins for, say, a Zimbabwe tour or West Indies tour. So there is a bit of role sharing at the moment, but we have to see if the role sharing is going to be more official than unofficial.
Does Indian cricket need split coaching for the formats?
No, I certainly believe that it's not easy doing a 10-month job with the Indian team where you're literally on the roll day in, day out, and it's not easy to be traveling so many number of days and be with the team. It certainly gets to you as an individual, so I think it needs to be in some sort taken into account, and then probably prioritize certain tours and say, okay, like Aaron mentioned, is it a stopgap that you're looking for? If it is, then I think you need to also have the larger vision built into this system, and then try and get that person also to follow the same line, because you don't want two different people going in two different directions, because no matter what the format is, you want the Indian team to be going in one direction. And I think, in terms of white ball cricket or test cricket, you can take a call of making those choices. But if those choices were being considered, then I would have expected that to be prior to calling out for names. So I'm not sure. But
would you advocate for that though?
Yeah, I think it depends on the personnel who sort of gets that call, because at the end of it, every individual is different in terms of handling the pressures of being on the road for 10 months, 3 years on the trot. So it all depends on the individual. You take a call and then go with that, rather than having this preconceived notion that you need two different coaches for two or three different formats.
Workload notwithstanding though, Gautam Gambhir's entire body of work is IPL and T20 cricket. So then you also wonder, okay, what kind of head coach would he be for the test cycle or the test side with big series coming up? Is it tactically wise to have a separate setup, or is that not such a challenge, because you've seen England do it, or a number of other teams do it?
I think so. I think it all depends on on the management, and you have a chat and then go with the individual, and then have the captain involved, the selectors involved, and then the powers at BCCI involved to have a discussion around who should, how you want to ensure that the progression of one coach, whether he is capable of handling the 3 years, or you want to mix it up with certain tours. You pick and choose the tours because you know pretty well prior, at least with the certain FTPs, that okay, the World Cup's coming, the Champions Trophy is coming, the World Test Championships or Test Cricket. So you know the important tours, Australia. So you know all of that, and then say, okay, how do I now build up to all these tours? Is something that I think one needs to sit, not just by the coach, but everyone needs to come together.
Would it in any way affect the stability of a player's growth, multiple coaches?
I don't think so. I think if there's one coach who's overseeing the whole program and everybody is following his vision, then it shouldn't be a problem. And then it should also be up to him to choose his staff, because the more sync the coaches have within themselves, the support staff have within themselves with the captains, that always ensures that you have good results and you have a more stable environment in the team.
Either of you applying?
No. No.
All right. Or applying again, shall I say?
You want me here or no?
I definitely want you.
I'm still playing, so...
Well, you're doing your coaching, aren't you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing it on the side, but Anil is obviously...
No, I've been there, done that.
All right, back to the game, shall we? India United States, we've confirmed an unchanged Indian team from the last game. So 3 pacers, the 2 left-arm spinning all-rounders, and the same batting lineup that we got in the start of the game. Rohit and Virat up top. An important game, you'd think, for Shivam Dube, who's under the scanner in some ways. We have to find something to talk about with Indian cricket, and we try to understand whether Shivam Dube's position could have been better served for someone else. We'll just have that discussion in a little while. Confirming the US team as well. They're without their captain, who's actually been quite important for them. But Shahan Jahangir is a capable batter. Batted in the middle order in the qualifiers and actually got them some runs. Big Virat Kohli fan, and interesting to see if he opens at the top along with Stephen Taylor. Also, no Nosh Kenjigi, so they've gone short of a spinner, and Van Schalkwyk is back in the side. He did play the opening game against Canada. Right, let's talk about India's key players so far. And Anil, you mentioned in the last game, Jasprit Bumrah has now reached a space where he's applying pressure on any surface, regardless of how assisting, non-assisting. Has he been India's best player of the tournament?
Yes, I mean, no doubt about that. I mean, he's someone who you would want in your list every single time, no matter what the conditions are, because he can certainly not just apply pressure on the batsman when he's bowling, but certainly the batters are under pressure, not just trying to score runs of Bumrah, but also thinking of the next over, because that then adds to the pressure when they're facing Bumrah, because they know that nothing's going to come easy, and the variations that he has, and the ability that he has to sort of outsmart the batter. He bowls really late and he's quick, so even if you pick it, you don't have the time to react because it comes quick, and his action is quite low. So he bowls from literally front of his arm and quite low. So it's not easy for you to pick as a batter. So he certainly, if you look at all the phases in a T20 game, he's number 1.
You think a lot of fast bowlers would be expected to do well, given how difficult it's been for batting in New York, and we've seen some of his contemporaries bowl, Kagiso Rabada, Haris Rauf. And yet, Bumrah seems to be a level above them. If we look at just break down his phase-wise bowling, seeing very few boundary balls, very few loose balls. Why is Bumrah that much better than even world-class fast bowlers in these same conditions?
It all boils down to his mental game. I think he's very sorted mentally. He knows exactly what his plans are. He knows where to bowl what, when to bowl what, which is really important. He never, like even listening to his post-match interview the other day, he's never going for that glory ball. He's always trying to play percentage cricket, bowl those balls which are effective for that situation, for the wicket, which just sets him apart from everybody else. Because sometimes when the conditions are favoring you, you tend to get a little excited. You tend to be like, you know what, I can bowl this and this crazy result can happen. But he just stays within that bubble of his and he bowls exactly what is needed. And I feel he's not as celebrated as he should be, because the kind of performances he's put in over the years for India in any condition, in any against any opposition, in any situation, it just shows Indian cricket where batsmen are worshipped and bowlers should be given more credit for what they do.
No, not at all. But that's why we're celebrating Bumrah here. And you speak of his post-match interview. He was one to also mention Rohit Sharma and his use. You get the sense that he's also a lot happier, if I can just use that simpler word, when he's got Rohit, the captain, who in many ways Indian cricket went back to because of his captaincy, and the use of Bumrah is something that's also helping the effect of Bumrah.
Absolutely, they have a great working relationship, because Rohit's captained him throughout his Mumbai Indians career, except this year obviously in the Indian team. So Rohit knows exactly when to use Bumrah. Bumrah obviously has that confidence in Rohit that he can go up to him and be like, you know what, I want to bowl in the situation, and he knows he'll get the ball. But at the end of the day, it all boils down to Bumrah, because he delivers. No matter which situation you put him in, he delivers, and he delivers in those crunch moments.
Yes, we got a great sample of that in the last game. We have a small score to defend. Just too good, I'm guessing, for the USA today. Is going to be bowling up front. What would you like? What could you possibly do to counter a Jasprit Bumrah right now?
No, I mean, you can't be thinking that let me play off Bumrah, because that's only play into his hands.
Rizwan was not thinking that at all.
I know. Yeah. No, you need to still be sort of positive. You need to play according to what's coming at you rather than pre-planning. I mean, premeditating was what I think Rizwan did on that occasion. So you need to play the ball and then not necessarily look beyond that and try and take on Bumrah. I mean, you want to be positive, you want to show that kind of body language, and not go into a shell just because he's Jasprit Bumrah.
All right. Well, all eyes on Bumrah then, and we expect him to be just as good against the United States. However, as India not only look to seal qualification to the next round, they also look to tick a few boxes ahead of, again, with due respect, stronger opposition that will come their way. The middle order, albeit in challenging conditions, is yet to fire. Rishabh Pant's been outstanding, but as we just look at scores that have been put together now, they didn't have many to chase against Ireland, and they didn't get too many against Pakistan. But with Surya Kumar Yadav, Shivam Dube, and, well, Hardik Pandya and Ravindra Jadeja, is that an area of concern at all?
I think the sample size is too small at the moment. We shouldn't get too concerned. But obviously with Shivam Dube and Hardik Pandya coming off not the best IPL, people would be thinking about what kind of form they are in, because Hardik Pandya, his numbers against fast bowlers throughout the IPL have not been the best. He's scored at an average of 11 and he's gotten out 10 times. So he's going to want to flip that around, dominate the fast bowlers whenever he can. And Shivam Dube as well, after last game and the game even before that, there are questions which are being raised about what kind of form he's in, because you have Sanju Samson sitting out, and India aren't even using Shivam Dube's bowling, which again raises more questions that are we better off playing a Sanju Samson who's also a better fielder?
You can carry on from exactly that.
Yeah, I think, you still need to give him an opportunity. I think today is the opportunity for someone like Shivam Dube. I certainly believe that he's a game changer. He's got into this sort of a conundrum where because of the conditions that he's encountering, he's taking time, and that's sort of adding pressure. I think he's someone who you need to just go and tell him that, look, ball one, hit it, doesn't matter. He's someone who needs the kind of comfort saying that your position in this team, in this playing 11, is not under the scanner. Because if he constantly goes with the thinking, the team environment not say it, but we are all sort of questioning whether Sanju Samson should bat ahead of Shivam Dube. I think he's someone who needs the kind of cushion saying, listen, you go, you can win the game, it can be the semi-final, it can be the final, you don't know. But it's important that you give him that kind of freedom, saying ball one, just go and... the conditions have been tough, let's be honest. It's not easy for a batter to come in and straight away swing. So you need to give him that freedom. I'm sure he's been given that freedom, but maybe internally he's feeling the pressure because of the lack of runs towards the back end of the IPL and also coming into this tournament.
Yeah, speaking back end of the IPL, sometimes you can draw a line exactly where you want to tell the story or the point that you're trying to make. But the second half of the IPL, almost coinciding with the squad being announced on the 1st of May, just did not go Shivam Dube's way. This is since the 1st of May 2024. That's where we draw our line. And we just make a very simple point that Dube is not in the sort of form that he was when the IPL began. I guess the point Varun's making is if you noticed after one game or so that it's tough to bat, is Samson a more capable batter?
Certainly.
Or is Shivam Dube still capable enough to counter tough challenges, or is he simply a hitter?
No, certainly. But I still feel, unfortunately we spoke about England as well in the pre-show, when we did that, saying, do batters play out of their position? Sanju Samson hasn't batted number 5. I think the earliest that he'll bat, yes, for India he's batted, but generally in the IPL he bats number 3, and that's where he's sort of set. So you need to give him one more opportunity. Maybe, yes, in these conditions, you would expect that Sanju has the better technique to handle the bowling, and you may need to sort of play the game where it's not just bang bang and you sort of milk and then try and get on top of the bowler. Maybe yes, but certainly I feel the conditions are going to change when you go to the Caribbean, where spinners will come and play, and that's where a left-hander in that middle will certainly... You would want a in-form Shivam Dube in your lineup.
Sure.
So you have to give him the opportunity. I know these conditions are tough, but one more opportunity. If it doesn't happen here, then yes, you have to probably shift and then shift for the rest of the tournament.
Oh, that's interesting that you say that, because I was trying to think whether this Dube is a project that they want succeeding later on, but you want to keep him happy, manage his emotions and expectations, so you play him now. If you compare him with Samson, I think we can agree that Samson's the more capable batter. So he could have played these games, and you bring Dube in, come the Super 8s. But is it better player management to play Dube regardless, even when you know that Samson might have been better now, because Dube is going to be important once you go to the Caribbean?
Look, again, coming back to a very small sample size, you don't want to make too many reactionary decisions of just 2 games. So that's why they're playing Dube again. But I would like to bring up another conversation where why not we go with a lefty-righty opening partnership where you completely in spin-friendly wickets remove the left-arm spinner from the first 6 with Rohit and Virat batting. Especially today, we're going to see 2 left-arm spinners start up the bowling, mostly bowl maybe 2 to 3 overs in the first 6.
Sure.
And if we have Jaiswal there up top and the entire batting order shifts down, that's not a bad option as well, in case we want to make a change.
All right, well, fair enough. As of now, India go in with the same team. Now let's have a quick word on the United States. They're not just here to make up the numbers. They may very well have a lot more to do in this T20 World Cup than just the group stage, as many of us might have taken for granted or assumed. They're on a bit of a spree as well of nailing full members. Pakistan in that thrilling super over at Dallas. It's been some time now since they've been able to reflect and celebrate that win. Bangladesh in a series just before the World Cup where they beat them, and they've also got the better of Ireland recently. Is India next, or is India just so good now that they don't lose these kind of games?
No, you can't be complacent, especially in this format, in these conditions, because you just relax a little bit and then suddenly the score gets to 120. We've seen even 120 becoming really tough to chase down, especially if you have the openers get out cheaply. So we've seen that South Africa struggle to get there, and we have seen other teams. I mean, Pakistan didn't make it, Bangladesh didn't make it, so it's not been easy chasing down a score. The last thing that you want is to go through the motions and then suddenly you end up giving that partnership where you're ending up chasing 120, 130.
Can they play like a team that's now got almost a space in the Super 8s in their hands? They come from Dallas to here. Even though they're co-hosts, they would not have played here. This is a new ground. They are among the fastest scoring teams in this year's ICC Men's T20 World Cup. In fact, they're going at 8.5, which is just third on the list. And Scotland and Australia are playing their cricket down in the Caribbean. Can they play the template that can get to 130, 140, which is what we've seen, or are they going to try and go hard against India?
Look, they've gotten off to a really bad start with the first wicket, first ball. Yeah. They are up against a very, very capable bowling lineup today. They're obviously going to try their best, but I don't think Bumrah and co are going to let them get off easy at all.
Excuse me, sorry.
Well, for Shaheen Jahangir's return has been a short one for the United States side. As Varun says, Arshdeep Singh's got him with a perfect in-swinger first ball. So on that note and keeping that in our minds, let's get a first innings predictions from Anil and Varun. Varun?
I think they're going to score 120.
Ooh, that's a good score, 120. Yeah. It's a massive score at this ground. Kumble?
I think I'm looking at 95.
Okay, that's not too bad either. But anyway, 120 and 95. Let's pick up the chat with Anil, Kumble and Varun at the end of the innings. Thank you, gentlemen. Look forward to your company then at the end of the United States innings on Maruti Suzuki Arena Presents ESPN Cricket for Timeout, powered by Dish TV. Watch or download the mobile app. Fastest scores and so much more. That's how we found out that Arshdeep's already got India off to a perfect start. ESPN Cricket for mobile app will have you covered. Bright and sunny, no problem with the weather in New York, and we pick up the chat at the end of the US innings.
Introducing the epic new Swift. Time to go swifting.
वॉचो ऐप पे देखो एक OTT के दाम पे सारे OTT शान से.
Watch